Today we're going to be talking about another award-winning mother. We're headed to Pennsylvania, a case that involves two kiddos, Connor and Brinley, and their horrifically disturbed mother, Lisa Snyder. But first, before we get into all the twists and turns and things you did not see coming, I want to warn you. We are going to be talking about some very specific and sensitive details of a criminal case centering around two child victims. We are also going to be talking about suicide as well as animal abuse. If you are sensitive to these details, I will see you in my next one. Yes, this case has it all. Okay, friends, I don't know if you are ready for this one, but let's dive on into it. Connor Snyder was 8 years old and Brinley Snyder only 4. Were both born in Allentown, PA, to their mother, Lisa Snyder, who was 32 years old. And their father is unidentified, who reportedly had not been in the picture for quite some time. Brinley was in her second year of preschool, was lovingly described as having loved playing dress up and adored Elsa and Anna from her favorite movie Frozen. Connor was a third grade student in a public school elementary who enjoyed building forts and playing video games. Relatives and friends and school officials reported that Connor seemingly happy in school and life in general. Both kids seem well adjusted and generally were joyful in all environments in which they participated. One acquaintance even mentioned that when she picked up Connor from school, she observed that he was laughing and sitting with his friends having a great time before he came to the car. Video footage from as recent as September 23rd, 2019 from Connor's school bus showed him running up to his home in a joyful manner. The bus video surveillance showed no signs that Connor was in any kind of distress whatsoever. From the video, he appeared to be a happy child, but according to Connor's mother, Lisa, had an entirely different story to tell about him, and one that, interestingly enough, she would mention to anybody that would listen. It was almost as if she was planting a seed to use at a later date when she needed it. Lisa told her acquaintances often that Connor had been bullied in school because he was overweight, had a speech delay, and was slower to grasp things. In fact, Lisa claimed her son had been having issues at school since he was in the first grade. Texts from Lisa to friends detailed that, quote, "Things are bad, bullying issues in school, and he tells me he wants to die. He's only 8. He lost 25 pounds in the first 3 weeks of school. Breaks my heart. I just want to cry," Lisa would say. She would go on to say, "He tells me he hates school. Every day he tells me he doesn't want to talk about school," Lisa would say to another. Lisa would continue to tell others, "Connor was bullied on the bus." She would say repeatedly to those who knew her, "He just comes home and he is just angry. Kids make fun of him because he's fat," Lisa would say to neighbors, actually. When asked if Lisa was working with the school to make it a tolerable place in which Connor would be happy in attending, Lisa said, "He doesn't say much because he knows I will call the school. He doesn't want me to say anything. I mean, what else could I do?" According to Lisa, things got so bad for Connor at school that he told her on multiple occasions he wanted to die. Lisa reported that after Connor made this particular outcry, she had a little sit down with Connor and told him to come to her whenever he felt like hurting himself. Lisa claimed that Connor told her, "I would have killed myself already, but I'm scared to do it by myself. Lisa's stories about Connor caused family acquaintances to wonder often what was going on with the little boy, but none of them, not family, friends, or the community as a whole, could have anticipated what Connor was accused of doing or the tragedy that struck the Snyder family on September 23, 2019. When Connor came home from school that fateful afternoon, according to Lisa, he asked his mother if him and his sister, Brinley, could go downstairs to the basement of the house to build a fort. Lisa later reported that Connor loved building forts. That was his thing. She went on to say that Connor and Brinley played downstairs in the basement all the time. As Connor geared up to create his fort in the basement with his sister, Lisa said he asked if he could take the dining room chairs downstairs and the dog lead she had purchased that morning to help build this fort structure. Thinking that her children were busy playing, Lisa said she did some laundry and went outside with her dog, a husky pit bull mix, for approximately 10 minutes. When she came back inside, Lisa recounted that she went down into the basement to see what Connor and Brinley were up to and wanted for dinner, and found an incomprehensible scene of horror. I'm going to stop for just a second again, give you guys another warning. I don't typically do this, but this could be very triggering if suicide talk upsets you. Very graphic details, so please click out if that's going to upset you. Lisa walked downstairs, according to her, immediately found a scene that she never thought possible. Brinley and Connor were hanging 3 feet apart from a single wired dog lead. The dog lead was wrapped around the main support beam of the basement rafter, and each end of the dog lead was wrapped around the children's necks to make a makeshift noose. Underneath the children were 2 wooden dining room chairs knocked over. Both children appeared to not be breathing or moving as they hung suspended from the wooden basement rafter. Lisa later told police that she tried to get the children down herself or even lift them to relieve pressure from the dog lead wrapped around them. She reported that she couldn't, though, because of what Lisa described as anxiety spikes, which caused her to sweat profusely. When Lisa's anxiety spikes, later called an anxiety attack, prevented her from saving her children, she left the basement to go upstairs to call 911. When Lisa called 911, she told the police dispatcher that Connor had been bullied in school and that he had made suicidal comments before, including one threat, which Lisa said he had said that he didn't want to do it alone. During the 911 call, the dispatcher, who is relaying info to the police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical technicians that would be arriving shortly on the scene at Lisa's house, could be heard saying she, the mother, mentioned that 8-year-old Connor had been bullied and has made threats of doing this. That Connor didn't want to go alone, and sadly, he may be the aggressor of this situation, the dispatcher then tells the fire captain. After concluding the 911 call, Lisa never returned to the basement, instead opting to make a phone call on her cell phone while sitting on the front steps of the house waiting for the first responders to arrive on scene. Just to drive this very important point home, her kids are both still hanging from the dog lead nooses around their neck in the basement while their mother sits on the front steps and talks on the phone. People, one more time, she never returned to the basement. She never made another attempt to help her children in a life-saving way at all. One of the first to arrive on the scene at Lisa's house was a paramedic. His immediate observation as he's running towards the house was of disbelief. Lisa was sitting on the front steps of the house and was not crying. She was very anxious and very nervous, but added she was not crying. The paramedic ran into the the house, passing Lisa where she sat talking to someone on her cell phone. And then Lisa's property was soon swarming with first responders as most ran into the basement and immediately started to remove the two children who were unconscious in full cardiac arrest from the wire dog lead nooses where they were still hanging. Brinley and Connor were placed on the floor, and the combined team of the firefighters and the EMS attempted to relieve both children by the way of CPR. According to some accounts, the children were revived enough for a sustained heartbeat, while other reports state that both children were pronounced dead at the scene in the basement. Regardless, after first responders were unable to sufficiently revive the children, they were moved to stretchers and quickly removed from the basement and wheeled to their awaiting ambulances. Both children were rushed to nearby hospitals as first responders tried in vain to save them. Connor and Brinley were then placed on life support, which left Lisa back at her home facing police officers and the investigation to come. Was she a grieving mother or a horrendous monster? Well, you better believe that investigators were already wondering this very thing as well. It would be safe to say that we immediately had questions, the investigators later said. 8-year-olds generally don't commit suicide. In most states, regardless of whether the death was suspicious or not, investigators at the very least are required to conduct an investigation with the circumstances surrounding a death that is unattended by any credible witnesses such as a medical professional. Needless to say, Lisa's behavior and the circumstances of that day were suspicious as soon as they made contact with the 911 dispatcher, and it only became worse from there. We all may think that a mother whose children are found hanging would make every effort possible to save them. That was not done in this situation, investigators later said. Suspicious indeed. Lisa, on the other hand, was pointing the finger away from herself and straight towards her son, who at that moment was on life support and fighting for his life. She maintained and would repeat her claims to anybody who would listen that Connor was responsible for the attempted suicide and the attempted murder on his sister. Remember, at this time, both children were on life support and therefore considered still alive. And so the investigation into Lisa and her claims and that the 8-year-old attempted to kill his sister and then attempted to kill himself began. Hours after the children were removed from Lisa's house and rushed to the hospital, police searched the home and collected the dog lead used in the hanging, which was labeled super and 250 pounds to be used as evidence. The family dog, a husky pit bull mix that Lisa reportedly bought that lead, weighed only 50 pounds. So she bought a lead that's weighted for a dog that's 250 pounds, and her dog is only 50 pounds. And since Lisa was so insistent that Connor attempted to kill his sister and then kill himself, investigators had themselves a long chat with her and Woo Boy. Did Lisa have a lot to say on the subject? When investigators interviewed Lisa on 2 different occasions, they said that Lisa had said that Connor had been bullied and that he told her on multiple occasions that he wanted to die. But here's where Lisa's story starts to unravel. She stated she didn't know much about the bullying. Previously, Lisa had stated that Connor had been dealing with bullying since the 1st grade. And at this point, he's in 3rd grade, so we're talking a couple years. And would bring up this reoccurring topic constantly, but she didn't really know much about it. Lisa went on to say to investigators that Connor doesn't say much because he knows that I will call the school. She also allegedly told investigators he's overweight, he has a speech delay, he he needs extra help, a little bit slower to grasp things, kids made fun of him because he was fat and that he had lost 25 pounds since the start of school because he was starving himself. Lisa also reported to investigators, "He tells me he hates school. Every day he tells me he doesn't want to talk about school. I did not really see any problems till he told me about the kids on the bus." She indicated that Connor had been having issues since first grade. She claimed that Connor had tried to kill himself. That either way this goes at this point, the fact that Lisa is saying Connor had attempted suicide in the past and that was undocumented right then and immediately acted upon with professional intervention is criminal, but so is the alternative. When Connor attempted suicide, Lisa told investigators that, "We had a little sit down last week and I told him, 'Honey, if you ever feel like hurting yourself, please come to me.' He did say to me when we were talking, 'I would have killed myself already, but I'm scared to do it by myself.'" Such a cry for help if that actually happened, according to how Lisa reported it to authorities. Lisa then allegedly told investigators she believed that's why Connor had Brindley with him, so that he could do it together with her, that he didn't have to do it alone. Lisa was so insistent that Connor had attempted to murder his little sister and then kill himself. So what were investigators led to do except to take her at her word and start to investigate every single statement that came out of her mouth, when she said it and who she said it to. If the school was such a problematic and disturbing place for Connor that he attempted to commit murder and suicide, surely somebody must know something and could corroborate Lisa's extensive storyline of Connor being bullied so badly that it affected his mental health to the point of doing something this dramatic, right? Anyone? Investigators moved aggressively as they checked Lisa's story about Connor. As for their starting point, interviews began with people close to the Snyder family, school employees, and medical professionals, and the results immediately cast doubt on Lisa's claims. An occupational therapist who worked with Connor told investigators that he had dexterity problems, which would have made it impossible for Connor to have even tied his own shoelaces. This lack of dexterity would have prevented him from opening the clasp of the dog lead or use it to hang himself. As for the point that Lisa hammered home every opportunity she had that Connor was a little slower to grasp things, to be organized enough physically and mentally to hang his sister first and then himself, seemed to be beyond his capabilities, and this was confirmed by medical professionals involved in Connor's life leading up to this point. To summarize, Connor could have not carried out either of the hangings alone. A witness close to the family reported on September 16th she had received a text message from Lisa stating that Connor was suicidal and that the kids were bullying him. But when this friend went to pick Connor up from school, he was totally fine. He was laughing and sitting with his friends and never said anything about bullying. Family members, school officials, and the children's classmates all told investigators that Connor was not bullied at school and he had never expressed thoughts of suicide. In conclusion, there was no evidence of bullying or suicidal thoughts. Additionally, the only person that ever indicated that Connor was bullied or wished to commit suicide was Lisa.
School officials and family members were interviewed and indicated that Connor never expressed that he was bullied or suicidal. The only person that ever indicated that someone was bullied, that being Connor, was the defendant.
And didn't Lisa's poorly crafted stories of Connor being bullied and having suicidal thoughts just blow up in her face? Why, yes. Yes, it did. As soon as investigators exhausted all leads provided by Lisa and would have supported her story that Connor attempted to kill his sister and himself, the investigators turned towards Lisa. Lisa was now officially the prime suspect of, but wait, as if the circumstances of this investigation weren't horrible enough, it was decided that with no hope of Brinley and Connor regaining consciousness from the lack of brain activity, both children were removed from life support, dying within 14 minutes of each other. The coroner's statement read, Brinley Snyder was pronounced dead on Thursday, September 26, 2019 at 4:26 p.m. and Connor Snyder was pronounced dead on Thursday, September 26, 2019 at 4:40 p.m., both at Lehigh Valley Hospital's Cedar Crest. Autopsies stated that the children had died by hanging and no drugs were found in their system. It's unknown who gave the final permission to medical authorities to remove Brinley and Connor from life support, but I know it was not Lisa. No one in the medical or criminal justice world would allow her to make that decision at this point. Lisa, though, was busy drinking on her front porch with their friends while she created Facebook pages in Connor and Brinley's memory and posts to her own Facebook accounts by updating her profile with a photo and the quote, "Word scar, rumors destroy, bullies kill," was facing a whole new aspect of the investigation into the death of her children. She was now the prime and only suspect of the murder of her children. Lisa, a credit to absolute determination for her "my son killed himself and his sister" story, and I'm sticking to it, but the investigators were not having any of it. They had obtained a search warrant and Lisa's house was the target. When the search warrant was executed, electronic devices were the top of the list. The investigators didn't find just one cell phone belonging to Lisa, but 3. These 3 cell phones in Lisa's possession were a surprise to officials as they reported, normally people only have 1 cell phone and now we have 3. But still, the most important one, according to the investigators, was the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Lisa said she lost this particular phone on the day that Brinley and Connor were hung. Lisa also claimed after she lost her phone, she deleted the account associated with that phone because it came up missing. Investigators think that this particular lost phone was intentionally destroyed because it held the worst of incriminating evidence. And they were probably right because in early October 2019, an acquaintance of Lisa described a text she received from Lisa about a week after the hangings. Lisa texts that she needed to have 2 strong drinks. Lisa then drove to the acquaintance's home and expressed concern that the investigators had been to her home several times looking for a cell phone. Lisa appeared to be stressed out over what investigators would likely find in her online searches under Connor's account, according to the acquaintance, because she was looking up how to kill someone. Can we just say right now that there is nothing normal about this case? And I am truly going to need for you to brace yourself for what comes next. Okay, here we go. Because Lisa was right to worry about what investigators might find, regardless of the fact that the phone that the authorities wanted to seize the most from Lisa was MIA. The search warrants not only gave investigators access to Lisa's electronic devices, but also their internal records. And those records showed internet searches you would not believe. During this time frame on September 17th to the the day of the death, the 23rd, leading to Brinley and Connor's death, Lisa Googled searches included a little something like this: carbon monoxide in a car, how long to die? Almost got away with it. I almost got away with it. Best episodes. Hanging myself. Do a hybrid car produce carbon monoxide? Does a hybrid car produce carbon monoxide while idling? All according to court documents. To put that into horrific perspective, Brinley and Connor were found hanging in the basement of their home on September 23rd. On September 17th, Lisa looked up carbon monoxide in the car, how long to die, police would say. That same week, Lisa Googled best episodes of the crime documentary series I Almost Got Away with It, that covers stories about criminals who avoided arrest for years but were ultimately brought to justice. On September 22nd, Lisa allegedly searched hanging yourself and visited a website that describes an effective way of hanging a person using a short drop simple suspension, or a wire dog lead. She also visited a website that described an effective way of hanging a person. On that same day, Lisa searched Google for, does a hybrid car produce carbon monoxide while idling? This is the part where I really want you to brace yourself. I'm telling you, this story is all over the place. This story is so bizarre. It was through the investigation into Lisa's phones and online information, specifically her Facebook Messenger account, where it was revealed to investigators that Lisa was having a sexual relationship with her family dog. Yes, you heard me right. One more time for the people who are already cringing at this case. Lisa was having sexual relationships with her male husky pit bull mix dog. And to make this just a little bit worse, Lisa was taking pictures of the multiple sexual acts performed with her and her dog, sending these pictures and videos along with explicit conversations to another person through Facebook Messenger. This person's identity was never revealed, as the investigators declined to press charges against that person at all. Investigators collected nearly 2,000 pages of Lisa's Facebook activity, as well as messages through what she sent. Just a bit of good news as far as the part of this case goes. Lisa gave away the husky pit bull mix after Brinley and Connor's death. Investigators, though, did have to track down the dog because their investigation required that they needed to compare the wire dog lead weight range to the weight of the dog. If you recall, the dog lead, how can we forget, had a 250-pound weight limit. The dog was tracked down, and we are going to believe that he is confirmed happy, healthy, and in therapy, but his weight was recorded at only 50 pounds. As far as the dog lead, Lisa admitted that she had bought it from Walmart, it's always Walmart, at 9:30 a.m. the same day the children were hanged. And since you can never have too much evidence to support a case, let's throw one more log on this dumpster fire. In 2014, the County Children and Youth Services that oversaw the county in which Lisa resided at the point in time had removed the children from Lisa's care. The kids were returned to her in February of 2015, though. No other details were provided into regards to why the children were removed and why they were subsequently returned, or why the case was ultimately closed. Isn't that interesting, though? Can we at least agree, whatever the reasoning is, Lisa's children being removed from her care, it had to be something fairly bad because, as we all know, it has to actually be really bad for CPS to actually make a move that big and take someone's children away. Also, do we have yet another Child Protective Services that once again were a bit too hasty in deeming the mother as being a good one in which to send her kids back into her non-loving arms? You tell me. And so in regards to this case, do you think we have enough blatant, obvious evidence at this point? I would say yes, and so do investigators. On December 2nd, 2019, following an extensive and thorough investigation, Lisa was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, third-degree murder, tampering with evidence, endangering the welfare of children, animal cruelty, and yes, sexual intercourse with her dog. Lisa reportedly showed little to no emotion when she was arrested at her home.
Lisa, why on earth would you want to kill your two children? What reason would you have to kill your two children? Talk to us. Do you have anything that you want to say?
And speaking of murdering her children, having sexual relations with her dog, and being completely unfazed at the prospect of giving the death penalty, Lisa's mental health, or lack thereof, was now in sharp focus for not only the investigators, but also for Lisa's own attorney. When investigators were speaking with many witnesses associated with Connor and the possible statements he might have had been bullied and wanted to commit suicide, one unnamed witness told investigators that Lisa was actually the one who was depressed and who could not get out of bed. And this witness also said that Lisa made a quote that she does not care about her kids anymore, unquote. When investigators were asked about Lisa's mental health, they replied that they were not aware of any prior health issues that she may have had. But Lisa's attorney stood up really fast for this one and said, au contraire, because it is the insanity or the mental infirmity defense that might save her from the death penalty after all. So of course they had so very much to say on the subject. Lisa, according to her attorneys, had and continues to have chronic history of severe mental disorders, including major depression with psychotic features, anxiety disorder, affective disorder, and postpartum depression dating to when she was 16. At the time of the alleged homicides, Lisa's attorney's legal motion states Lisa was affected with major depressive disorder, and this was recurrent and severe, as well as borderline personality disorders and symptoms consistent with post-traumatic stress disorder, multiple personality disorder, and dissociative disorder. They say that Lisa's mental illness manifested in suicidal thoughts and a perception that her children were being harmed physically and emotionally by others. The mental illness brought out a desire to protect her children from feelings of abandonment and or to alleviate the painful feelings and situations they were experiencing at the time by killing them, as in, you're welcome for now bringing peace to you, Connor and Brinley. Good Lord. I am not a mental health professional, so I will leave that open-ended question right there for you guys to leave your many thoughts in the comments. On February 12, 2020, Lisa was transferred from jail where she had been awaiting trial after being denied bail, appeared before a district judge for her preliminary hearing for the charge charges of first-degree and third-degree murder, endangering the welfare of children, tampering with and fabricating physical evidence. Just a little side note, a preliminary hearing serves to protect a defendant from unfounded criminal charges, making sure the prosecutor has sufficient evidence to allow a criminal trial to go forward. The court on that day heard from 7 witnesses, including the initial first responders that arrived on scene, testimony from other prosecution witnesses, including a relative of Lisa's. They all contradicted her claims that Connor was depressed and that he was even being bullied, citing that when she spent time with Connor, he looked happy and healthy. Other witnesses, including the EMT that arrived on scene and observed Lisa's anxious but not crying, as the state trooper who helped carry the kids' lifeless bodies out of the basement. Trooper Jeffrey Hummel choked back tears from the stand as he was asked to identify the dead children from the photos. I imagine when the defense asked the trooper why he was so emotional upon being shown the pictures of Brindley and Connor, they realized what an open-ended door they left for a very strong point to be made. He said, "I'm human." And clearly, that's the difference between most good humans and Lisa Snyder, because she, ladies and gentlemen, is not. Lisa's attorneys pointed out that there are some holes that are in the prosecution's case. He went on to say that prosecutors failed to produce any evidence or testimony that Lisa killed or planned to kill her children. Whatever. The prosecution was feeling the need for more evidence too, and went on to say some murder cases are built on circumstantial evidence, and Lisa's account simply makes no sense. There would likely be more evidence had Lisa not gotten rid of her phone. At the conclusion of the preliminary hearing, the judge moved the entire case to the next step, which is a trial in which reports have been made that the prosecution will ask for the death sentence, while the defense is looking for an insanity plea. How the case stands right now, it is still ongoing with the prosecution and the defense fighting it out. It will be interesting to see what happens next at the trial with this case, and because it has so many twists and turns. I mean, I kind of feel like I have whiplash. Like, what? It's like one thing after another. It's so bizarre. Oh, and good luck to the defense trying to find a jury that has not heard of this case. I'm thinking that's just not going to happen when you accuse your son of killing his sister and himself by hanging and have alleged illicit affairs with the family dog. Just my opinion. Okay, friends, let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video. I mean, I, for one, would love to know what's on that lost phone. But if it has anything to do with dogs, I am so good. No thanks. I will pass. Let's leave a red heart in the comments for both Brindley and Connor, whose life was allegedly taken away way too young. Lisa is a monster, and I really, really hope that she pays one day. I'll keep you guys posted on this one. Well, if you guys have made it to the end, you guys are rock stars, and I love you to death. There are more true crime videos in my Crimey Cases playlist if you would like to check them out. Stay safe, my loves, and remember, if you see something, say something. Bye.